up, believe. Another morning sun is shining. Wake up, believe. Another morning sun is shining over on Trent. Wake up, believe. Another morning sun is shining over on Trent. Wake up, believe. The voice of my people will be heard over on
So when you wake up in the morning getting ready for your work, give thanks to Jah because you know where life works. Some sit down in the office, some hand in the dirt. Wake up and smell the coffee. You got to be early like a bird to catch the most worm. Mouth off your feet and money off your turn. Teach off your teacher, make the picnic them learn. Even the newspaper boy works hard for what he earn.
Wake up, believe. Another morning sun is shining. Wake up, believe. Another morning sun is shining over on Trent. Wake up, another morning sun is shining over on Trent. Wake up, believe. The voice of my people will be heard over
When me come to bust out the truth like a river, a true reality me come to deliver. Freedom, equal rights and justice for all. United we stand, divided we fall. We face trials and tribulation, so we have to make a betterment in our nation. Emancipate from mental separation. Rise my people into liberation.
Have to wake up. Another morning come. Bright day to shine.
Good morning, Belize. WUB Wake Up Belize Morning Vibes, Tuesday morning, 5th December 2017. How are you all doing this morning? I'm most happy to be with you until 9 o'clock, and we want you to punch your clock, get in on duty, WUB time, Belize's premier morning conversation. We've got to welcome all of you to our house here in Partridge Street. Every listener, viewer, online person getting us via simulcast linked, we're glad to have you, your presence, respect. But it's not just about being here. We got to feel you, we got to hear you. But before we get to the big conversation, we've got to warm you up. We've got your morning weather update provided to us by the National Meteorological Service. And of course, Krem's News Center has been hard at work to make sure that we got an early morning news update for you. But before we jump into all that, we put a little music in your morning. Set it free. Guess what? We've got your weather update. It's here. The National Met Service says relatively moist conditions continue to dominate our weather. The 24-hour forecast is for sunny with some cloudy spells today, cloudy at times tonight. A few showers will occur mostly over northern and some coastal areas today and over the south tonight. Winds will be easterly to northeasterly at 5 to 15 knots with choppy to moderate seas. Looking at temperatures, highs today along the coast of 85 degrees Fahrenheit or 29 degrees Celsius. Overnight low of 75 degrees Fahrenheit or 24 degrees Celsius. Inland, expect a high of 89 degrees Fahrenheit or 32 degrees Celsius with an overnight low of 70 degrees Fahrenheit or 21 degrees Celsius. The outlook, some cloudy spells, few showers over most areas June, Wednesday, and mostly over the south Wednesday night. And as far as tide readings go, high tide at 11:45 this morning will be followed by a low tide at 4:42 this afternoon. A high again at 11:06 tonight, and then a low tide tomorrow at 6:13 in la mañana. That is your weather update. Guess what? We got your news update right now, right here.
The first private radio station in Belize since 1989, Creme FM presents the news. Informative, accurate, current information, local, regional, and international news, weather and sports. And now, the news.
Despite objections from the opposition People's United Party, the BNTU, the Bar Association, the Chamber of Commerce, and NGO community, Franz Park was sworn in on October 16th as a Justice of the Court of Appeal. Yesterday, we learned that Park has tendered his resignation. A press release issued by the government press office reads, quote, "The office of the Prime Minister is in receipt of a copy of a letter sent to the Governor General, His Excellency Sir Colville Young, by Justice of the Appeal Franz Park, in which he tendered his resignation from the Belize Court of Appeal with immediate effect. The Office of the Prime Minister understands that Justice Park made his decision in order to spare the court any exposure that a trial on the issue of his tenure would create," end quote. Franz Park resigns.
I want to welcome the news that Justice Frank Park has tendered his resignation as Justice for the Court of Appeal. I think that he did the right thing. At the same time, I also want to thank all the social partners, the Belize Bar Association, the Belize Chamber of Commerce, the unions, and all the social partners who jointly were expressing grave concern that the Prime Minister decided to appoint his former schoolmate from last school, a person that was obviously not properly qualified for the job. But yet the Prime Minister, despite all the concerns that were being raised, decided that he is going to do as he wishes. Even to the point where I, as the leader of the opposition, wrote him on 2 occasions raising the concerns and took out an actual lawsuit. The Prime Minister decided that he was going to ram through this appointment. In a democracy, it is very important for us to always feel that the judiciary is independent and that there's no undue influence on the part by anybody, be it the government or the opposition. And in a time when we are finding ourselves in a really sad situation in our country, when the government, through the Prime Minister of Belize, has decided that he is going to completely disregard a ruling from the highest court in the land, it raises concerns, not only to us as politicians, but it should raise concerns for every Belizean. As I said, a democracy is based on the rule of law. And once we start to disregard certain rulings because we do not like it for one reason or the other, then that can lead either to dictatorship or it can lead to anarchy. So I am happy that Justice Park did the right thing by tendering his resignation from the Court of Appeals.
You may recall that the law firm of Courtney Coy filed a fixed date claim at the Supreme Court Registry on October 11th on behalf of the leader of the opposition, Honorable John Bissenia, who was at the time challenging the constitutionality of Prime Minister Barrow's appointment of Park. In Bissenia's claim, which named the Attorney General as the defendant, he contended that Park is not qualified to serve on the Belize Court of Appeal. According to court documents, Bissenia was seeking for the Chief Justice to declare that Park does not satisfy the requirements of Section 101 of the Constitution to be appointed, to declare that the decision of the Prime Minister to advise the Governor General to appoint Park as a Justice of the Court of Appeal for a term of 5 years was unconstitutional, null and void, and to declare that Park was not constitutionally appointed to the Court of Appeal. Yesterday, Bissenia informed that he has instructed his attorneys to withdraw the constitutional challenge at the Supreme Court.
I have already instructed our lawyers to withdraw that case because we no longer need to proceed with that case. Once again, I thank all the partners. This was a concerted effort where we had the Bar Association, we had the Chamber of Commerce, we had the unions, we had social partners, and we, as a PUP, together, we were raising the alarm, and the Prime Minister decided to stick up his nose to all of us. But I'm happy that Justice Park did the right thing in this instance.
Sir, are you mindful of the fact that with his departure, a vacuum is left, and we have our Chief Justice working diligently to catch up on his judgment, so you have a situation where the head of the judiciary is in a pressurized situation, and then you have a member of the judiciary stepping down.
Well, it's certainly cause for concern, but mind you, they're in two different levels or two different areas. The Chief Justice is working at our local court, the Supreme Court of Belize, and Justice Park was at the other level at the Court of Appeal. So by him stepping down, it does not necessarily stop the work. But what the Prime Minister needs to do is to quickly start to look for making another appointment, but someone that can meet the qualifications that is expected of a justice at the level of the Court of Appeals.
To piggyback on Daniel's question.
He hopes that in appointing a justice to the Court of Appeal in the near future, PM Barrow will do the proper consultations and ensure that the individual is qualified.
Well, I'm hoping that the Prime Minister would eat a little bit of humility and to try to do something that he hasn't been doing for a long time, the writing, that he would try to identify a judge that we believe would meet the standards that is expected from members from the Court of Appeal, and that he can do a genuine consultation with the leader of the opposition. This matter of writing you a letter and said, by writing you a letter I've consulted and I can do as I wish, is no longer going to work. Because if we feel that, again, he's trying to ram down somebody that is friendly to him and that could potentially be answerable to him, we will object, and we will then go to our social partners, as we did with this case, and get the support, and if necessary, then go and challenge it in court. But we will no longer allow this Prime Minister to do as he wishes.
A man was shot and killed over the weekend by police officers in Tea Kettle Village. The alleged allegedly homeless man is currently unidentified, and police have chosen not to release the names of the officers involved, saying that the investigation is current.
Police responded to a report of a robbery that had previously occurred. On the 3rd December, the complainant accompanied police to an area behind Tea Kettle Village known as Arizona. Upon the police's arrival with the complainant, the suspect was pointed out by the complainant, and when approached by the police, the suspect attempted to make good his escape and was pursued by the police. During the process, the suspect received one apparent gunshot injury to the right knee. He was immediately taken to the Western Regional Hospital, where he later succumbed to his injuries. The identity of the suspect at this time is unknown. He is a male Hispanic descent person who had seemingly moved into the Arizona area some 4 months ago and was living in an abandoned vehicle. Police have since commenced simultaneous internal and criminal investigation into this matter, which is ongoing as we speak.
Can you share with us the name or names of the officers involved?
No, I am not at liberty to release those names, as this is an ongoing investigation at this point. The investigation is in its early stages, and the officers are being interviewed at this time.
According to the complainant, the deceased robbed him on Friday near his home.
According to the complainant, he was robbed sometime on the 2nd December in the same area where he lived, and had made a verbal report to the police and was, at the time of the incident, accompanying the police to the area, where he then pointed out the suspect to the police.
Over the weekend, reports surfaced of shallow graves containing human remains in Key Chapel. The police department has since deployed several teams to the island to investigate the claim, but up until their briefing with the press earlier yesterday, there was no evidence found. Here is Officer Commanding CIB Eastern Division ASP Alejandro Coro.
Reference that information, yes, the police received certain information of shallow grave with the human remains there. Police visited the location on Saturday. They did a check in the entire island. They were unable to locate any of the graves. They are there presently this morning, along with other members of the police department and the Coast Guard, searching the area to see if we can locate this shallow grave as it was reported earlier. There's no confirmation that yes, it is, but police are in the area trying to locate it.
The Football Federation of Belize unanimously elected Sergio Chuk as president and running mate Cruz Gomez as vice president during the ordinary Congress held at the Princess Hotel on Saturday. Chuk officially succeeds Roberto Vicente, whom he tried to oust as deputy last year. Marlon Quillen acted in the role after the May 2016 elections resulted in a deadlock after 20 rounds. The football fraternity has been embroiled in controversy to select a new president, and in June of this year, the acting president, Marlon Quillen, and his executive tried twice to hold elections for president. Both those attempts were unsuccessful, as all Congress members were not present. At the last, Congress members boycotted the session in support of Sergio Chuk, who claimed to have been unfairly disqualified from running for the presidency by the FFB Electoral Committee and the Appeals Committee on what he cited as baseless allegations of bribery. Following his victory, Chuk spoke to the media.
We have a lot of raw talent in Belize, and with the support of my executive, who they've all pledged their support, I think Belize has places to go in the very near future. Under the leadership of Marlon for the last year and a half, and his able assistants, Shane, Darlene, and the two appointees, Mr. Mala and Mr. Davis, they put forth a plan that I am fully aware of the plan, and it's the way that football needs to go. The plan is already there. We're not here to reinvent the wheel. because of the support that I am 100% sure I now have, and because the committee is ready to work together, I could see great things happening for football in Belize, and it won't take us too long. It will be shown in, I'd say, 2 years, you'll start to see the progress, because as I have always been saying, football, you cannot go out there and win overnight.
Chuk's term is for 3 years. Last week at the PM's press conference to discuss the way forward on a $90 million award to Belize Bank for the debt of the former Universal Health Services, the Prime Minister shared that while he was away for the weekend, it was rumored that members of the People's United Party met with Michael Ashcroft for supposed financing for the upcoming municipal elections. Yesterday, Kremlin News asked Honorable Bisenia if there was any truth to the PM's statement.
The Prime Minister is a spin master, and the problem that is happening now that is he has been spinning so fast that he can't even know how to stand up straight and to say the truth. Because, as far as I know, I am the leader of this party, and nobody has asked me if they can meet with Lord Ashcroft. I certainly have not met with Lord Ashcroft. I was out of the country. I came in on Tuesday. But that is always the Prime Minister, you know, from the day he has been in government, that the minute he has a problem in front of him, he always throws something at you for you to be able to run at that bone and forget what really is in front of you and what is really important. And the Prime Minister has been trying to use this as a distraction.
Mr. Briceño, I think the definitive question here is simply this: with all that being said, you said in your statement just a while ago that you didn't give permission for anybody from your party to meet with Mr. Ashcroft. Can you definitively say, have you consulted with your colleagues? Because obviously I think you probably listened to the Prime Minister's press conference, which was a very lengthy one, and when he made the insinuation that members of the People's United Party may have met with Michael Ashcroft when he was in country. Can you definitively
Yes,
say that your
I have asked all members of my party in the executive or the leadership of the party. I can't tell you, I have asked the 60,000 or 70,000 plus supporters of the PUP, but all the members of the senior leadership of the party, and nobody has disclosed to me that they have met with Mr. Ashcroft.
And that brings us to the end of the morning news update inside the WUB WUB Morning Vibes. But we believe that you love getting the latest, knowing things as it happens, and so throughout the day on Creme Radio, you are properly fed. We've got the morning stew, which starts the cooking and the feeding. That's at 9 right up until 1. There's a news brief at 3 p.m. and a full newscast at 5:15 p.m. Creme Television's newscast is at 6 p.m. With that said, we take a small break, and when we come back, you know, we could get down to the real thing, right? All right, stick around. No move!
Informative, accurate, current information. Krem's newscast. Local, regional, and international news. Weather and sports.
O'clock right there on the dot. Boom, we're ready to talk, and we want to get you on board. All this is yours. We got until 9, and we have 3 phone lines. The numbers 222-4299 as well as 202-4409 and 202-4469. Easy. Want to get you here. Want to hear what you got to say before the Tuesday morning is out. And we have our first caller, Mr. Torres.
Good morning to all. Good morning, Brother Moses.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, Brother Moses. You look very highly energetic this morning, as usual.
Oh.
Yes.
I'm thinking you say that, you know,
Always.
fair, you know, kind of like it's newsworthy that I look energetic. The rest of the time, they are like, What they
No,
go
no, no, no,
on,
no.
Mr.
My bad.
Torres, so they are kind of like
My bad,
like
my
a
bad.
hangover.
No, 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 no.
All
Could
right,
never
then.
say that.
Good.
Could never
So what
say
they go
that.
on, sir?
Well, I learn more and more, no?
You're learning.
Yes, bear with me, brother.
Bear with you.
Yes, I learn more and more that the monies originally paid to the bank, that is the 38 million, you know, it's a 33, 36, 38, 20, you hear all kind of figures. But when received from Taiwan and Venezuela, it was intended wholly and solely to bail out the financiers at the UHS, not intended for nations' consolidated funds. At the here, no? You see, it was for a specific purpose to bail out the financiers of the UHS, no? Okay. If I am wrong or not wrong, I cannot tell. But does all the monies in the form of gifts, do all these monies paid into the consolidated fund? I say this why? Because I don't know if last year or this year, if I'm not mistaken again, Taiwan, who apparently to me is nation's financier in times of financial struggle, no? Or when in financial need or wanting, handed to nation's prime minister $60 million, which I understood 20 was in the form of grant, meaning that you don't have to pay back, and the other 40 was for government purposes. If I could recall, no, if I'm correct, well, were these monies paid into nation's coffers? Were they? Okay, the 20 million grant, the 20 million grant, was it for contributees or for the party in government? And this is what leads me to feel, no, that this is what has been occurring to our little contributees, man, poorly thing, you know, that those vested with leadership, Brother Moore, use their authority and use monies from whichever source for other priorities, you see. Wherever the misconception or our class erroneous mistake arose, to me it is now a must, okay? It is now, a must, according to my realization or clear understanding, and to many more who care for nation state, that we have to stop this bull now before it gets stronger. By that time in Brother Mode, okay? If we wait for 2020, the bull will get stronger and it's going to 140 million instead of 90, thereabout. No, it's the 1.4 million a month interest. You see, Brother Mode, above all, no, I have gathered that overall nation's finances is in a very delicate mood, and it calls for careful treatment. I want end this part by saying, no, that the time for blaming is gone. It is no time for action. Either we settle or we pay. I want to end by quoting the great
but
publisher.
I don't get one sense from you, because I don't know. You want to pay or you don't want to pay?
I don't know. We have to settle. Go to the bank and say, sorry, it was my mistake.
Sorry.
I want to pay the 40 where I'm take with for you.
Sorry about what?
Make the bill down at 90. I don't know. I just the think as one layman, no? Realizing what is money, how it come, how it go, no? And when you're strapped, how forget out situations, no?
I don't know what we going to say we're sorry for.
Huh?
Where we going to say we're sorry about?
Well, because we have this misconception, no? When we feel and believe that we win the case, we win it locally. So even if we go abroad or wherever I go, then we rule in our favor. It never happened. So now there is what we call a court directive, the highest court we sign onto, okay, that blends with our constitution. You see? Okay, it says go to your House of Representatives, or your Parliament, for approval, not in the form of what you call for to be argued for approval, for conform. That are the directive. No, he never tell the bank, hey, if they don't approve it, come back to me, make I do a different ruling. I don't know much about these things, but as a layman, I think one do mistake at the beginning for going co-sign, and the next one say, hey, that's how many people's money. Hell no, I won't take it, but we don't know where it's gone.
But you know,
what they did with it.
You see, Mr. Torres.
Yes, Ramos. I'm just being realistic.
You see, Mr. Torres.
Yes, Ramos.
The thing about it is that, well, I agree with you. I think you make a very solid point.
Oh, thanks very much, Ramos.
The solid point you make is that we're not lawyers. We have to say that, because if we don't, you know that when lawyers are quick to point out that you are not. No?
Yes.
No, I am not a doctor, but I get a general sense when I get a fever.
Good.
You know what I mean?
Very good.
And we are not doctors, but if a family member, you say a family member drop down to the ground, you know there is a problem, right?
Of course, yes.
And we got a rough idea of, some of the possibilities, but that, we would go to a doctor. We understand and we respect expertise. But just we just accept that, we never gonna study no law.
Yes, we're not no legal mind.
But it seemed to me, what you're saying makes a lot of sense.
Thank you, Brother Moore.
Because I was talking to someone yesterday, and we were looking at this situation, because it's quite a situation, right?
Indeed.
This bedroom pointed out to me yesterday, and I wasn't thinking that.
Okay.
And I haven't done any research, but just pointing out how unusual it is in this kind of parliamentary system.
Okay.
For a prime minister to bring a bill to the House that he wants to be defeated by the members of his party.
Okay, yes.
Very unusual circumstances, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's very unusual, and it brings up all kind of questions.
Yes.
All kind of questions are coming up now. Now, what you are saying there, and I think in Major Jones's letter to the Amandala, he kind of also referenced this particular point, that the CCJ, when it makes its rule and says that to comply with our constitution, that this matter has to be approved by the House of Representatives, it has to go through that process.
Yes, formality.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It would seem to me that it's a gesture of courtesy.
All right.
Not giving the Parliament the right to then rule on the case, because that's ultimately what, if you are going to debate paying, when the CCJ says you pay, essentially what you are converting the Parliament into you are converting it into a court.
Comply.
You're converting, and again, I'm no lawyer, but I'm saying that's what it amounts to me, in my layman's assessment of what you do, that indeed what the CCJ does when it says you go now, it says you must pay, but the only way for you to pay is for, as this is a procedural, formality here.
Yes.
We say you have to pay, you go and you have to pay the right way. You can't just pay. You have to take it through the House, the
Yes.
House approves it,
Yes.
and then you do it.
In order to comply, you do that.
Now, if you're going to debate it, whether to pay or not,
Yeah.
you are actually it amounts to converting the House into a court that is
Yes.
above the CCJ.
Yeah, for use discretion.
And yeah, it's up to your
Yes.
discretion.
Yes.
It's the equivalent of you go to court and the court rules, well, you know, Cremo owes Ernesto Torres
Yeah.
want big money,
I wish.
but the court accepts that that payment then has to go to the board. The board has to then get
Yes.
that decision
Yes.
and procedurally
Yes.
approve the payment to you because of losing in the court.
Like protocol, no?
It's a procedural thing.
Yes.
Not for you to go and say, well, now you will debate whether or not you're going to or you're not going
Yes.
to. And if it is, and again, this is going, it would appear to me that if it is you decide that you will see if you can get away with a technicality here, see if you can actually, you know, listen, when I play hardball here with the CCJ.
That's the court.
If you decide to do that, it would seem to me that the less said, the better.
Yes, yes.
So if you really look at the press conference, there was just too much said. And members of cabinet have publicly gone out there and have said too much.
Yeah. Neat.
You understand?
Neat,
So,
neat. Yes.
you know, if this thing is a very delicate thing, so if it is you were serious about, you'd have said, being strong here, you would have said, well, you would have to tiptoe through this so as to give very little flesh to any suggestion that you are in contempt of the CCJ.
All right. Yeah.
Because it would enough is out there. You ask the public. We all know at this point.
Yes.
And the only way we know is because we have heard from them that they intend to vote no.
Yes.
And that we know that they met in cabinet. We know that the Minister of Finance did not excuse himself. He was a part of that discussion.
Yes.
So it seems like to me like they erred in giving up, in saying too much.
Yeah.
Unless it is, Mr. Torres,
Yes,
that
Madam.
unless it is, we're looking at a situation here where it is just to create, it is political strategy being utilized, which is natural. It's a part of it, but you're dealing with a situation that is a legal issue.
Yes.
And it would seem like to me that it would have been a better route to just quietly go about your business, know what you're going to do.
Yes.
And then you say, guess what? In the House, people get up and said, we're voting against this bill. The CCJ, because I imagine that what is going to take place is that once that happens, then the matter is going to go back to the CCJ. I imagine that
I believe the bank is.
I imagine the bank is going to take it back to the CCJ,
Yeah.
and they will have in their hands, I imagine as evidence, that entire press conference. They will have in their hands all the things that these ministers have said, including what they've said about the CCJ itself.
Yes, lot of evidence.
So yes, a lot of evidence. I don't know. Maybe it's all nothing. Maybe it doesn't really have any big impact overall. But it just seems to me that it would have been better to be discreet and to be cautious and to walk softly, dealing with something where you're really going against your the judiciary.
Yeah.
It's really going against the judiciary, and like I have been saying, that it's talking that way and talking about those things is not to suggest that I don't believe that the CCJ got it right. I don't. I don't believe they got it right at all. But that is how litigation goes.
Yeah, yeah.
That is how litigation goes. And I think the bigger lesson for us here as a people, as Belizeans, Mr. Torres, and you can tell me what you think. I think the bigger lesson here is for us to, it should have been the day one lesson, but maybe, and for some people it's the day one lesson, but maybe there are some people who don't really get it, that there is no mercy in this world.
Yes, Bill said.
And it's not just, and it's
Bill
not righteous.
said, yes.
Maybe there are pockets of legitimate aspirations to be, but we fall short of it, even when it is what we want to be. And many instances, you know, people not really care about whether or not it's about what is just or what is righteous. It's a big strong man game, and it's a big rich man game, and that's the way it works. Because what has happened here is a complete travesty. We don't even really know. I've been trying to, a caller called in last week, and he's trying to get the understanding of how the hell did the bank end up with an opportunity to sell the asset?
All these things, yes, we need to question.
So there is that whole issue. Now, if you owe the bank, and the bank forecloses on the collateral, and on the collateral, and sells the collateral, under normal circumstances, that goes to your debt. But the bank holds the collateral. How that is not a part, because it's not just the 90, you see.
Yes.
You see, we got the 90, then we got the Taiwanese money, then we have the value of the asset which we don't own.
All right.
And it should be that if you are forced to pay cash and you are forced to pay the court rules, guess what? You have to pay what you owe. Then the requirement of the creditor is to give you back then that which they were holding for security.
Yes, 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 yes.
Unless it is that what they have sold that security for is going to be factored in what the debt is.
Very sticky.
You understand what I said, Mr.
Very
Torres?
sticky, Brother Moore.
So it's unclear on what agreement you could demand I pay you all what I owe you, but you still hold the security and sell the security and hold what you get from that as well.
So we never can defend it, Brother Moore.
No. Maybe it is. We know. I don't know if we never gonna defend that. I don't know when that happened, how that happened.
Well, those things were not put into evidence then, Brother Moore.
Well, it would appear, but it speaks to how the extent to which the Belizean people's interest has been failed.
Yes.
It has been failed miserably. It's a complete failure. I mean, I can't recall. I know that we've been fighting against paying this onerous debt,
which I do not favor, but
there was never a fight for us to say, well, if you are fighting me to pay back all of this, you cannot sell this asset. But that asset has been sold. That asset that asset has its own. It has private owners now.
Well, Brother Moore,
yes.
Brother Moore, what come into mind just now? I say, all right. We will honor the ruling of the court, because then that is the purpose of the court, to rule on legal matters.
Yes.
Good. We can't hide away from it. Good. Make we pay. Then I want to carry you the court.
To get back to the hospital.
Yes. Not forget back the hospital.
But why wouldn't we want to get? But why shouldn't we want to get back to the hospital?
Yes, if the hospital plus the money.
Huh?
Oh no, we don't take the money.
I don't know what you're saying there about the money. I'm saying here, if we are going to pay, essentially pay. We are going to go pay for nothing. If I borrow from you, or I borrow from bank for bill and house, and I don't pay, and the bank says, well, you know, I carry the court for pay, and I have the house, I sell the house, but I end up pay you back the full value of the house. How I not end up with my house?
Well, that's why we never fight for that, Brother Moore. We never fight for the property.
I don't understand how that decision was made and when that was made, that we would not fight for that property.
Because we deal with matters after the fact, not before the fact, Brother Moore. This is what happened to our country. We deal with matters after the fact, not before.
You see, because we have to stop saying 90.
Yes.
It is the 90 plus the money from Taiwan plus the value that was garnered by the bank for the selling off of the property.
So the 140.
It's almost 140. It's not 90.
My golly.
And it is, and that is how much money has gone to the creditor. And while we as the people who essentially were the guarantors, we get nothing. We get nothing. It's the proportions, just the length and width of and the depth of this mess is mind-boggling. And you know, like, you know, you have to respect the CCJ, but how do we not look around to see, okay, well, what has happened here? How do we not look to see the top and bottom of this situation and try to see how we can look for our pound of flesh? I think it's a very rough situation, rough for us, all of us. There's a lot of money to pay for nothing, and yeah, it will be a very interesting day. It will be very interesting to see how this plays out, and it's really going to. It really has to at the very least, since it's going to be for nothing. At the very least, it has to be a lesson learned that, you know, there is no mercy for those who sleep at the wheel. You sleep at the wheel, they will clean you out. There's no mercy. One would think that an investor would be satisfied if they were able to sell the property. One would think that they would not put a compound interest rate of 17%. One would think that they would offer a deal. There's no deal. There's no mercy. None. There's no home field advantage at the CCJ. There is none of that. You think you're hoping, well, you know, the court is going to protect us because all of we are one, we are Caribbean people, we are Caribbean unity and solidarity. That's a flawed way to think of things. That's not real. It really isn't. It's a merciless world. And we have learned a very important lesson here. Nobody is sorry for you when you sleepwalk through failures and sleepwalk through negligence and playing out deceit. Nobody will feel sorry for you. They will take the flesh off your bones. That's what they're doing with us right here. They're taking flesh off bones. And somehow we were thinking apparently that we would have some kind of home field advantage at the CCJ, that at least those people there would understand the plight of Belizean people and see certain things. That did not happen. And that means that as we watch them come for the flesh from our bones, we have to be asking, well, how do we protect ourselves? Because nobody's going to protect you for you. You people have been telling us for a long time to look around the world. Look around the world and see where peoples can tell you that even though their cause is just, it doesn't make a difference. It doesn't make a difference. It doesn't alleviate their suffering or the injustices that are visited upon them. Doesn't, even though they have every right as human beings, and in fact, in some instances, if you go and you check the plight of Palestinians, you can ask them if this is a righteous, just world, or if these global agencies are going to save you. The UN has ruled several times on their West Bank situation. That doesn't stop the more mighty nation from taking advantage and occupying territory. Doesn't matter to them. Palestinians can cry all they want to cry. Few international media outlets are interested in their cries. And that's just the way it works. It's brutal. Brutal. But it's the truth. We're all now completely blown away, shocked when we look and we see images of African brothers and sisters being sold. People thought that that was something you read about in history books, a part of a journey that we have gotten past. Never figure out that humanity still maintains and still accommodates that level of hatred, that level of brutality. Thought we've become more civil than that. The slave master days are something where you read about or you say, you watch some movie about it. And then right there in living color, you see the images come your way, and then you understand the geopolitics that created that situation. And is it just? Is it righteous? But it's there. It happens. It's a brutal world. Merciless world. Merciless world. 375,000 of us can be swallowed up in one day and the world is going to move on. Leave it away. We're like one apartment building in China. That's what we are, an apartment building in China. We have to be we have to be serious, we have to have one consciousness that the people, that our caretakers, our laws have to be such that when they fail us, either because of skullduggery or fail us because of incompetence or overreaching incompetence, they have to be liable, because their failures are not going to be consequences that they are going to be left with. Their failures results in serious consequences for us. We are the ones who carry it. We are the ones who carry that burden. And so when people aspire to lead you, respect, it's noble, but they must aspire, and when they get there, they must have an understanding that uneasy lies the head that carries that crown. Because your decisions, we have to make sure that you are liable somehow for them. So fiduciary responsibility to the interest of the people of Belize. It cannot be that you can fail, leave us with that, and there's nothing. There has to be, you have to have in place, and we have to be fair. We can't say, well, you know, if you fail, you know, and it was not your intent to fail, you're going to get jailed. But there has to be a level of consequences. It should be naturally wired into taking over the wheels of the nation. Naturally. That's the way we have to do it, because when our caretakers fail, they expose us to the crazy, merciless viciousness that dominates mankind on this planet Earth. This planet Earth is controlled by vicious networks of racist people who don't give a damn, and if you should die, you die. If you should starve, you starve. That's not their business. People are not going to be sorry for you. They will not be sorry for us. So that is why we cannot just go on business as usual. That's how you end up paying $90 million for nothing. That's because we are not completely vigilant and saying, boy, once you become my caretaker, don't play around though. That message has to be delivered to present and aspiring leaders. When you take the wheels, understand your do abstract has to be consequences for the kind of abstract will result in you as a people paying $90 million for nothing. There has to be, and we have to make sure that a lesson learned is carried forward from this generation on to the next. But I have a call, and then we'll take a time check. Krem, good morning. Thanks for holding.
Morning, brother Moose.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, brother. This is where to say, right? Probably you see it to another people out there see it, but this is a warning one for we, you know. Now, where you look from, listen to me carefully. Now, we lose 90 million, right? Look like that gone. Walk under the bridge for me. Now, we'll get ready to lose half of the country next. When we go to the ICJ, watch that now. Everybody had confidence in this CCJ business. Now, I see the same thing will happen because system has a strange way of repeating itself. With this ICJ and this Guatemalan issue, now, my man will tell me when the referendum is put out there, whenever that is, people vote one resounding no on that. Because the same damn thing will catch we bottom wood. So if we think about this 90 million, what about half of the country gone then? Think about that. I want everybody, what they hear my voice, think about that. 90 million are nothing really think about half of the country to go, because I know the decision they go for we neither. Because everything they backfire upon we right now. Everything they backfire upon we, everything. We pay this, we pay this, we pay that. Now we look to pay with land. So Belize and people, listen to me. Whenever the ICJ business and this referendum business come, vote against that. The same thing when I catch we, I don't see it most. I feel the vibes there. I don't know about you, but I feel that. So you think about 90 million, think about half of the country then. Let's say that, but I'm also coming from that respect.
Respect, brethren. It's 7:36. This time check is brought to you by Grace Kennedy Belize Limited.
From the company who brought you Buen Dia freeze-dried coffee, Grace 100% pure Colombian coffee is made in Colombia. considered among the finest coffee regions around the world. Naturally freeze-dried, Grey's 100% pure Colombian coffee is exposed to less heat than other coffee brands to preserve the flavor and aroma to make the perfectly convenient cup of coffee you deserve. Have a buenos dias with Grey's.
Quality nutrition from generation to generation.
Bringing good taste to life.
Welcome back to the WUB Wake Up Belize Morning Vibes. Or telephone numbers are 222-4299 as well as 202-4409, 202-4469. Krem, good morning, WUB.
Good morning, Morris.
Morning.
I don't know the man that called just now about the ICJ and the CCJ ruling, but I want to agree with him. I feel their vibes there too. They man where to run this country. They're so confident that them want to win, and they were wrong. They were completely, unequivocally wrong. They did not have it right. And they are the same ones who are telling us, let's go to the ICJ. And so I agree with that man with Carleen, and I back him up on that Belizeans, I don't care if you're a PUP, UDP, Independent, BPP, VIP, I don't care which P you are. As a Belizean, you better make sure when the ICJ question get put to you, because they are put it to you without check the register. Okay? They know I check the registration of voters or say who would legally have a right to vote, because technically nobody would ever lived in Guatemala should have a right to vote in our election where we carry the court with Guatemala. So that registration thing have to go back. Just like how they could find $1 million here when they want it, or keep the gas price so high and they collect and still no want to pay nothing. Because they tax we, because we got all these bills to pay, and we to pay the tax. But they not to pay the bills. They to take the money to collect from we to pay the bills, but they not to pay the bills. And Belizeans will not have to figure this out. They were wrong about CCJ, and somebody need to make a t-shirt about this and put it out. They were wrong about CCJ. They were wrong about ICJ. Vote no. Good morning.
Yeah, I think the Bedouin's point is crazy in the sense, not crazy like, got validity, but just kind of like just make a think deep, because you to put one whole lot in front of people you don't know. You don't know them people. I know when we sit down and we hear that, we know to hear that the people who sit on the CCJ, our leaders are now telling us publicly that, they have the value system where worked. They're not grounded. They don't have one consciousness of, like community, and they're conservatives. They're stiff. When people say you're a conservative or you lean right, it means that you're very rigid and cool. That is what it means. If somebody says then judges the conservative, that's what it really amounts to, saying that they're cool, rigid, just they know the factory and put into context people's realities and all of that. That just then they in a world where they're not really connected. They want this, whether that is fair or not, but that is what essentially you're saying when somebody, they're saying they're some old conservative. It's kind of become more, it is used in a negative way. Now, it's not to say that somebody that believes in a balanced budget and all of that there is something evil about that. But generally, when somebody is criticized for being conservative, it's because they look upon and say, you all have no compassion. That's a general criticism of conservatives. They are compassionless people. So it's a very significant criticism. At least we somehow have a feeling as to, well, what is their downfall insofar as seeing this case properly and in our view in a just manner. Similarly, we believe like one of the things where I think sometimes people, when they burn out the ICJ, come across as if though like they don't believe in that we are right, that we have a right to a home. I think it's important to say that we believe that we have a right to a home, and that our possession of this territory is just, and that it's you know, it is human justice. We have brought this territory, and those before us we have brought this from where it was, and now this is what we have here. No, we have spent our generations here, and we have lived and we have died here. We sweat and we bleed here. This is home, and we believe that that is just the moral justice that we should not have to have someone still hovering over us with their military might, trying to take away that which we don't believe with every molecule in our body belongs to them. But as much as that is our conviction, when you are being stared into a courtroom, those people who are there don't know us. We have to depend that those individuals are individuals who have such a character, and who are without agendas. That's a whole lot for you to just assume that this is just going to be mankind's most legitimate courtroom of balance and justice. It's a huge assumption to make. And then the people who are telling us that are people who have just come out of taking us down a road and are now looking at those individuals in that court and saying they fail we, and expressing remorse for having even deciding to go the route of the CCJ. It really puts us in a position now where I think it really brings this matter into a very sharp focus. And the brother is absolutely right that we have to look at what it is to lose $90 million compared to what it is to lose, if it is even that they're going to claim, everything south of Sibun. It's a very serious matter. And I feel that the lesson that we have to learn, and we're taking too long to learn it, we are like little kids, disconnected from the decisions that our parents make that can put us out of house. We are like little kids just running around to play hopscotch, because that's what kids do. They have this trust. Parents are going to do what is right. We cannot be like children running around in the playground. We must be adults. We must be watchful. And we must be involved. And we must be engaged. Only little children can afford not to be engaged, to just be frolicking around. We cannot be like children, running around like little children, hopscotching and dancing around. while your caretakers put you on the hook like this? It must be a lesson never forgotten. And the only way it is not forgotten is if it results in the kind of meaningful adjustments to our law to make it more personal when caretakers fail at this very fundamental level. There has to be personal consequences. Can't just be you put us on the hook for 90 mil and you're at the wheel. We don't even have a situation where the initial investors in that facility, there's no record of even their properties being held to help with that bill. They just walked away from that. Clean. We are children running around having this naive trust and confidence that our caretaker is going to do right. They know what to do. But their decisions impact all of us. That's why we have chosen them. That's why we measure them and assess them and see if they are fit for the job. But there must be consequences when they prove unfit. Can't just be this kind of situation where there are no consequences. It doesn't bring the best out of leadership. They have to know you mess up. You have a personal stake in this if you mess up. Because your decisions, the position you have, you're responsible for so much. It's a lesson we have to learn and learn very quickly that this is no fair world. We don't live in any fair world. I think it was the opening page of the book Beirut to Jerusalem that a Mexican proverb is quoted, and the Mexican proverb goes something like this: all your friends are fake, all your enemies are real. Listen, it's a book about the Middle East, and that was the opening proverb. I remember when I was reading that book, that was the opening proverb, and I was like, all your friends are fake, all your enemies are real. If it's one thing you know for a fact is authentic around here, is your enemy. So I think we have to accept and grow up as a people. We have a lot of growing up to do, and would it take some lick out of that? I take this call and then we go to 2 Cents Cam. Krem, good morning, WB. Krem, good morning.
I call for the Sand Hill little the better, you know.
Sand Hill call.
And I just want to add to what you were saying, you know, but this Belize Guatemala issue also, you know. Like, you know, this situation is a very serious situation, man, and I don't really like the way how the Prime Minister and the Foreign Minister is dealing with this situation, because, you know, like, for example, like in a newspaper, you say that when they catch these Guatemalans, after a little while, you see they sing Guatemala again. And I think, you know why that happened to, because, like, when they catch these men, they knock up the Cayo. We know that Cayo is a Spanish-speaking district. Whether we like it or not, that is true. And whenever a man in a hole, never know what kind of the people could just walk right across and go and get the people out, and then right back in the same right back to square one again. And you know, I also really to like, you know, the way how the government really they deal with the border in a whole too.
I think we as a people have to have a seriousness, sir, and then our leaders, aka our caretakers and caretakers of the asset, not caretakers of house, but caretakers of the asset, who look after our interests and manage our asset, this nation state believes, with all its resources, when we have a seriousness about who we are, then they will have a different attitude towards the decisions they make. I think we have to look on ourselves at how we become more vigilant owners of this asset and more serious about it. And it is not a pleasant thing. It's not a pleasant thing to know that, boy, you have to be in this mindset that, you know, you have to be very careful who you trust. Nobody likes to live like that. We wish you could be carefree, but you cannot, because this world is filled with vicious people, and they are strong, and they are wealthy, and they are cool. You've got to always look out. We have to have that level of vigilance, especially that we are small. We cannot be a jokey and one flimsy kind of people, because we are small, but the asset we have is valuable.
Yeah, that's true.
You see, so we cannot be jinxed about this. And I think that we have to look on ourselves and say, we've been playful. We've been like children. We've been playful. We cannot be playful with this world. We cannot be playful with the people we choose to control our steering wheel. We cannot be playful. It's not personal. It's not that we hate the people who will be our leaders. We have to have people who manage the asset, but we can't be playful with them.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, we've been too playful. We've created a culture where our leaders assume our playfulness, assume that they can just come and say, well, can give us any story and it works for us. We cannot be like children.
Yeah, I think the most of these prime ministers really run this country. They don't really know about real obligation and commitment. I think one of the best area for understand real obligation and commitment when we go back into in history in Africa, I get to understand that our forefathers in the mother continent believe in obligation and commitment and honor. Today, our black leaders, the present one, I don't really see that. I think that a position of a prime minister is something very sacred, but they don't understand that, and that is the problem that we have.
Let me ask you something. You own a vehicle?
No, I just do merely hustling, and that's like right there.
You've never owned a vehicle?
I never own a vehicle. I never own a cycle.
You own a bicycle?
But yeah, a bicycle, yes.
You got your bicycle. So your bicycle
I not even got no bike right now, though.
All right. So that you're okay. But you've had a bike.
Yes.
So when you go on a bike and people like want to borrow your bike, right? That's that's a general thing. Or you borrow people would in my case, people want to borrow a vehicle.
Yeah.
And you have somebody borrow your bike.
Yeah.
The bike that you, but they use the bike.
Yeah.
Now, if when you get back the bike from that person, you bring it back with one flat tire, he just left your bike right there, flat tire and one 2 spokes bend.
Yeah.
Now, if you go and fix the tire, and you fix the spokes, and the next time that person come to borrow the bike, you just lend on the bike without holding him accountable for what he did to the bike originally.
Yeah.
That person will continue to treat your bike like it has zero value.
Yeah.
Because you not to defend your bicycle. You understand what I say?
Yeah.
If I make somebody go and drive my vehicle, and when I get back my vehicle, he out of gas, he got one dent. You and I just just take my, I know really take that person to task based upon the condition where you bring my vehicle back, because this is my vehicle. I know the sacrifices, just as you know the sacrifices to make you have a bicycle. If even, in fact, right now you tell me you don't go on a bicycle, which means that you know when you go on a bicycle, it no matter if they want fancy cruiser, yeah, aluminum alloy or whatever, you know that you have to take care of your bicycle. You know that you know how you had to work to get your bicycle. If somebody now come and take your bicycle and treat it like it has no value, you and a person will have a problem, brethren.
Yeah.
And then that person could never ever take control of your bicycle again. It's not that you hate the person, but that you have to respect who deals with your bicycle has to respect your property. Basic. You know, you can't be jinxing with the things where valuable to you. And I think that is how we as a people, when we have unconsciousness and not be playful. Remember now, not be, we talk about politicians. God kind of think we say about them, but they talk about them that don't mean anything. People don't worry about what you say about them again. People don't worry about that again. People know within a couple of years you won't even forget that. So they don't really worry if you call in names. We are playful. We don't have to. We cannot be like that, because then our leaders don't have a sense of where they call constructive fear.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? It's not fair. It's like, oh, well, you know, boy, I feel for that one. I don't know what you're doing me crazy, you know. No, it's constructive fear to know, listen, if I mess up, people will demand certain things, and they're not going to ever give up on that. They will never just allow me to bring back that bicycle with a flat tire, broken spokes, and not hold me accountable. That's the one constructive fear, that the owner of the bicycle and not somebody where you want to play wrong like that. When you put somebody in your bicycle and they know that you don't want a serious person, like you borrow something from somebody and you know that that person is not a serious person, you and me know, you take care of it, because you know you can't take it back to that individual. That is not the kind of person that you can return the bike or the vehicle and it's in a bad state and they're just going to just accept that. It's not that that person hates you or is personal. It is just right. You understand? Listen, you can't be jokey because people are run right over you. That's what that person understands. And when we understand that about a person, if I know you don't want a serious person but your possession boss, I don't take it personal. When I borrow your thing, I want to take my utmost care. If something happened to it while I am using it, then I have to make sure that I fix it and set it correct. And when I come to you, I want to explain it to you because I respect, I understand. You don't know a playful person with your property. We have been playful people with our property. And out of that playfulness, we get lick up. So whether it is the matter of a UHS judgment in the CCJ, or a matter where now they're telling us that we must now put our entire nation in the hands of judges that we don't know in a whole process of litigation, and that's what we need to do, and that is the only way for us to solve the problem. It is not a time for us to be playful. So I think the consciousness begins with us. And I believe that when we become more conscious and more serious, we will get better out of our leaders, because our leaders are us. It really comes down to us. At least that's my view of it. There are other views, but it's my view, sir. I want to thank you for the call, Sandhill Bedouin.
Okay. I don't know if you're ready for me to go.
Well, at that time, if you go, I have to go at 8 o'clock.
Okay. All right, Brother Mose.
All right, respect. 2 Cents Calm with Sister Yaya Marin Coleman, and then we take a break. When we come back, we've got Mr. ErvIn Perez with the Tuesday morning report.
Brother, who is responsible for the culture of corruption that believes since 1981?
The politicians, and I think the church, too.
Who is responsible for the culture of corruption that believes since 1981?
I think it's twofold. All politicians and the slavery mentality, where if in fact I can keep you how I want, you could get what you want, so, and nobody wants to fix it.
Who responsible for the culture of corruption that Belize since 1981?
The politician, because they got poor people that suffer like me, and even the people that when need help, they don't help, they help themselves and help their family.
Thanks for 2 cents. 2 cents question there, brother. Who responsible for the culture of corruption that Belize since 1981?
The leaders of the government in Belize.
Who responsible for the culture of corruption that Belize since 1981?
Can't tell your sister.
Who responsible for the culture of corruption in Belize since 1981?
Well, I believe that since the days of British Honduras, I believe it left us with a mentality of lack of knowledge of self, and it leads and it moves on to the leaders as well. And I believe that also has to do with their own denial of the knowledge of truth. Therefore, they keep making mistakes that they can correct because they are good by nature, because we are black people and black people are good by nature. So I believe that it's just a lack of knowledge of self, self-denial, and also they are following what they came and met in the government, and they are not trying their best to change based on their history and their original status in this world.
Thanks for 2 cents. 2 cents question there, brother. Who responsible for the culture of corruption in Belize since 1981?
I don't really know that.
Who responsible for the culture of corruption in Belize since 1981?
I really don't know.
Who responsible for the culture of corruption in Belize since independence in 1981?
Me no know.
2 cents question there, brother. Who responsible for the culture of corruption in Belize since 1981?
Well, me personally, I believe the leaders, because everything starts from the top. That's why the parents, if a man apologize, then into this discipline, then you become a vagabond. Plain and simple.
Thanks for 2 cents.
Welcome back to the WB Wake Up Belize Morning Vibes. It's 13 minutes after 8 on this Tuesday morning. Mo's out in the house, and I'm now joined by my Tuesday morning guest host, Mr. ErvIn Perez, Managing Partner Legacy Fund, here for the Tuesday morning report. Morning and welcome to the show, ErvIn.
Yeah, good morning, Mose.
You're
Good
clean
morning,
off.
Boy, I only have white shirt and it's
You're clean off.
Accordingly, the dry cleaning service is overwhelmed with the Christmas preparation. So
Really?
it's difficult to get your dress shirts dry clean in a short notice. They have tons of curtains and other. So it's a good business. We have to pick up LaSalle.
All right, so the Christmas season is upon us.
It is upon us, and people are doing what needs to be done.
All right.
We will have Christmas activities. Come high or hell, what? Or hell
Come high or come low.
Come high or come low. We are finding the funding. So.
Yeah, what do you say?
Come hell or high water.
Come hell or high water.
Yes, thanks, JC.
Come hell or high water.
We'll find the money.
Christmas don't happen.
Christmas has to happen.
Boy, oh boy.
And we get our Christmas bukut early, you know, Mose.
Santa came to town.
Not for us. But,
right.
you know, so I think when we talk about the payment that is dominating the airwaves, the $90 million CCJ judgment, I think from all corners, the Prime Minister can take some relief in the sense that everybody is saying he has to pay. So he's kind of off the hook in the sense from a position where you might feel, well, you know, this might not be politically possible from my end to go forward with paying something that I believe, or maybe as a country we may believe that
the
is
private sector, the labor
union, everybody's saying to pay. So I think while the Prime Minister, I do feel for him, because I think that, and for our country, because I do think we feel generally from just the history that there's something unjust about the final decision. Although it has been passed by justices of our highest court, a court which we decided to sign up as, and not, I would say not all the other CARICOM countries have signed up on this court as yet, but we felt that having our own court would give us the kind of, we call it contextual understanding of our economies it hasn't seemed to have played out that way. And you have countries as large as Trinidad in which the court sits that has not signed on to the CCJ as yet. So that's interesting. But given that the court has ruled, and given that there is a seemingly onerous interest penalty of about 17% compounded, vicious. I mean, I was surprised most, not only on the ruling, but I was surprised that there was not some move by the court to kind of create some relief based on the fundamental of this loan, meaning understanding what the loan actually represents. Democracy being flaunted in one of your states. So as I had mentioned in our conversation it seems I'm not a legal mind, but just from reading the judgment of the CCJ, you can go to the CCJ website and get the full document of their judgment. It seems that the justices were tortured in trying to make a case for voting the way they voted. And it seems in short for me that it's primarily kind of saying we want to show the big boys outside that we are
no home field advantage here. We are so
we are
so even.
We're so even. We're so fair. And
so you believe that it reflects the fact that our consciousness is still colonial.
Absolutely, Mose. We're still colonial thinking in feeling that we always need to satisfy the masters in how we think, as opposed to thinking for ourselves. So like I said, even if you might have said, at the end of the day, there has to be some compensation.
But then it must be said that these men who are on the CCJ are trained by the very same law school that in many instances that train our leaders. They are contemporaries. They come out of the same societies. So they reflect our norms, don't they?
Absolutely, Mose, and norms that have made the Caribbean a very poor region with excessive violence, socioeconomic problems. If you check Caribbean countries throughout, you'll see the issues of crime, the issues of youth problems, the issues of underutilization of their human capital, the issues of very divisive parliamentary systems where, when I was studying in UWI, any story I could tell a St. Lucian or a Kititian or other Caribbean person, they could tell me a quite similar parallel story in terms of how their democracies work. And even just looking at the CCJ, how are these judges appointed? When we do a comparative with the US Supreme Court system, we notice that judges, while they are selected by the executive, they go through a very tough scrutiny by Parliament
and
question. So you understand their thinking, whether they're eventually their nomination is eventually approved by Parliament. You understand how they think, and so you can lobby.
But I agree. Obviously, it's hard to dismiss the charge that the colonial consciousness grips us in this region. But at the same time, I don't believe that I think we have to be careful not to say that, well, because it is our code, that it is supposed to look out for interest. That is not what a court is supposed to do.
Absolutely.
Now, we can disagree with the judgment, but we cannot seem to suggest that the only way the CCJ is legitimate is if it creates a home field advantage for us. I don't know if that is what we want.
In the real world, Mose, that is the case, though. And I was listening to you before, and in the real world, what you have is what you call contextual. Meaning, one of the reasons why whenever you're looking at, if you have economists from abroad, for example, coming home, giving advice to your local government in terms of how things should be done, it always has to be contextual, meaning that you would want to have a counterparty who understands the dynamics. It's not that there are some fundamental rules of economics that operate in any particular economy, but there is a context that has to be factored in. And I think when you're creating a local court, you're trying to say they should have a context. They should understand the context in which they're operating in when they're making judgment, as opposed to not being part of. And we always call that in economics what you call non-economic or non-factors that you would normally use. And it's a real word. So if a case is brought to the U.S. Supreme Court, the judges there are contextual. They're Americans. They understand the American psyche and culture and all that stuff. And so their judgments will be, they're human. At the end of the day, basically what you're saying is a court, whatever it is, it's made of men and women. And
So
you have to understand the human dynamics that has to play.
You were saying yesterday it's very unlikely for countries like Belize to win any type of legal battles in European countries, in United States, that they are skewed against, they have a concept of the countries of the South, as they are called.
We call it
You call
TW.
third world. I don't like the term. They call them countries of the South, or they call them the least developed countries, the LDCs, or whatever. These countries that they have the vision that we are not ethical, that we are not. And in some instances, in some countries, they say, "Oh, they're not civilized." They have a concept of the uncivilized natives of these countries. In some instances, if not in a lot, there is the concept of racial superiority, where there is a feeling that if your skin is brown or black, that you must be legitimate in some way. This transaction that we are debating here, the benefit of the doubt is going to go the route of
I absolutely believe
these first world countries, and that is just that is the norm.
Yes,
so if you have your argument is that if we have our court must have a consciousness that is the landscape that we face, and that we must compensate for that.
I think we must be contextual, so we must understand the context in which we're operating, even in courts, no? But like you said, first of all, I mean, for us as a region to say we love democracy, every individual should be answerable to some authority in the United States, because they are, I think, preeminent in believing that man is
flawed.
Man is flawed. Even the justices of the Supreme Court has to go through a grueling scrutiny to get to that
All
position.
the cases that they have ruled, examined.
Yes, examine and re-examine. And we don't have that. We're still baked into this view that for whatever reason, some certain people are close to God, meaning they're not flawed. And so we continue to, even when we set up our CCJ, the CCJ was not set up in a way that the average Joe could scrutinize the judges that are appointed. There's no parliamentary review of the judges that all the members
But we must be,
tuned into.
but we must aspire to be sovereign, even if our first steps are wobbly,
are not perfect.
We must aspire to be for self.
So what these judgments to me suggest is that the states that have signed on to the CCJ need to revisit how the CCJ operates, how the justices, not judges, but the justices are appointed, that these justices need to be scrutinized by the public, by the democracies which they will represent as the final court of appeal or final court of judicature. That's one. Secondly, it speaks a lot about the need for our democracies. And I see the chamber and we're talking back about reform. And I think this is ultimately where we need to go. And this is not just Belize, but let's say we're homeboys here and we're biased. We should start the process, because we have experience, at least over this administration.
This is as grotesque as it gets when we talk about okay, listen, and you're an economist and you understand that this is a most expensive case of nothing.
And one thing I want to say, I do support the Prime Minister in saying that this should be a vote of conscience. We need to see every single member of Parliament, both from the opposition and from the administration vote. But I think they need to vote most with a long-term view in mind. And from my perspective, the only vote you would make here is you have to vote yes to pay this debt. There is no way that they can pass this on to the next generation. First of all, we know who we're dealing with. We're dealing with an individual that will continue to litigate. He's not going to sit and say, well, you know, your parliament not pass it and blah, 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 blah. I'm going to walk away and you can keep your $90 million. He's going to continue to go after every single means to get that funds, which will cost us some more money to fight the litigation at some point. So I don't think it's a decision that we can say, you know, we're hurt, we feel punked, but you know what? Because I feel this way, I'm not going to make any payment. It's, you know, as you and I have talked about, well, we make the payment, but how can we get half of that back? Is there some way that we can get some of those?
Get back the hospital.
Get back some of what we are paid for. So, you know, I noticed one of the social partners saying set up a special committee to investigate all the transactions in terms of this particular deal and see if there's anything illegal that you can then go after. But for me, it speaks a lot more about our reform process. Do we need to ensure that coming out of this mose, this 90 million and and if you reach a judgment too, not only does he get the $90 million, but all the legal costs that he had borne to take this case is going to be paid by taxpayers. And I want it to be clear, you know, people in opposition say the government, whatever, it's us, the taxpayers, at the end of the day, that's going to be sitting on this bill. And so besides the 90 million, we're going to pay all his legal costs, the cost of arbitration. So at the end of the day, when you look, you might be looking at 100 million thereabouts in terms of dealing with this particular issue. So that's a very important lesson, and that's a price of learning sometimes. But at the end of the day, I would want to see the vote of every single member on this, and to a great extent, the public has taken them off the hook, because from all the social partners, from the private sector chamber, they're saying we need to make payments. I don't understand why the NTUCB is advocating for partial payments. If you're having a 17% debt, unless the recipient of that payment has decided, I'm going to, for whatever reason, I'm going to put a brakes on the interest compounding, it doesn't make sense to pay this in installment. This is something that you just want to pay off and say, good riddance. And we spoke about even looking at, is there a way of classifying someone as persona non grata, meaning that you're saying as a country, you know, we can't play it you. We need for you to exit our economy so that we can move forward and develop. And that has to come most, I think, from both the opposition and the government, because we're not fools here. And we know that the opposition, to a great extent, has strong relationships with the same individual that we are fighting as a country, and the administration had the same relationship. I don't think we want to change government and be in the same situation for the next 5 or so years, assuming that there's a change or assuming there's no change. I think Belizeans in the majority would have said, you know, we have enough. We're not getting out of this relationship what we should be getting.
From an economic standpoint, ErvIn, the conversation about paying now, and since you're subscribing to that view, the Prime Minister has suggested in response to the Chamber of Commerce, it's okay, well, so now you guys are willing to take extra taxation so that we can pay it. From the standpoint of what the economy can absorb, can we pay it and not deal with any?
Well, and economists like to say this, right? And so Chamber, and our firm is a member of Chamber, is being disingenuous in the sense economists will tell you whether you borrow to pay a debt or you raise tax immediately, at the end of the day, it's going to cause taxation to go up. Because the Chamber has said as a body that the focus has to be on growing the economy, which is absolutely true. But you don't grow the economy in the very short term. There's not a flip that you can switch on that you'll be going from the last GDP figures show that the economy grew less than 1%, 0.5%. So there's not a switch that you'll click and then you jump to 6% or 8% growth. The kind of reforms, and we've been talking about this, the kind of reforms that you need to put in place to increase the potential economic growth of your country is speaking about tax reform, investment in human capital, so education reform, so ensuring that our young people can go to tertiary school, health reform. Those types of measures have long-term to medium-term returns, meaning that you're not going to see returns in 3 or 4 or 5 years. That's why they're not politically sexy, because you can make all the painful decision now, and it might be another administration that benefits from those hard decisions that you're made. So they're not very sexy to do. And so you're not going to have that jump in your economy from 0.5% to 3 or 4% overnight.
But if the taxation, we've had conversation about how anti-productive
the tax
regime is,
yeah,
and it basically, it represses growth.
Yes.
So adding on to that, doesn't that even worsen the situation?
I don't see the administration make any adjustments on tax reform. This is going to be something where you just borrow, right? And so while on the one hand the labor unions and the chamber is saying we cannot keep borrowing, but then you're saying you have to pay, so how are you going to get the money? We know money doesn't grow on trees, so you're going to have to borrow. I mean, that's the bottom line. If the government is going to pay this debt, it has to go to the market and raise monies to pay the debt. Simple, and it's not going to find this money off a tree. Now, once you raise your level of debt, then if you're thinking of from a fiscal position, revenues has to go up. How would revenues go up? There has to be some tax adjustment at some point into the future. Or, as the chamber is saying, you have to grow the economy. Now, to grow the economy, as we're saying, you need the reforms. And those reforms, as we've discussed here, most, because they're not sexy, you need kind of a bipartisan approach to getting the reforms done, so that no one person can be finger pointing, your fault. So that's the challenge that we have. So in the short term, if the parliament, and this is both members of both opposition and the administration.
So then they borrow, and then they have to increase the tax, and then the tax will be passed on to the people.
So
it'll be consumer-based tax.
So
that's the system we have.
That's the beauty of economics, and they say it's a dismal science because it's real. So if you're saying you must pay, we have a moral obligation to pay, which I fully agree.
No, organizations are saying that. We can't say that is the popular sentiment, because we don't know what the popular sentiment is.
The government, in this might be a first instance of doing what you call it, the referendum.
Belinda suggested that on Sunday, and I said I felt that since it is ultimately going to come down to the people who will have to pay,
maybe
then they should be the one, because we don't have a tradition or a culture where, even though the theory of it is that when we have those representatives in the House, it's to facilitate the will of the people that they represent. But we don't have an active culture where their position is being sought or facilitated. So when you talk about, say, for example, the United States of America, the people know their senators' email, they got their phone numbers, and they bombard those individuals when there's a critical vote that is coming up, because those people know you are there representing me. You can't go and vote according to where you and your friends think. You must reflect what your constituency feels. We don't have that. That's an unbroken connection in our democracy, which I believe weakens it considerably. No, that is where the referendum closes that gap, because ultimately you know what the people really believe. The people say, well, listen, we have to pay, then they accept. They know who will pay it. They know they're saying to them, okay, on a Hamburg way, we get a short end, the unpleasant end of the stick. But we believe that we don't want to risk it going above where it is right now. We want conquer losses right here, stop it right here, and then we move on with the reforms. And the people can say, listen, we're tying the reforms with the paying in. We're tying the reforms with increasing your the taxes. These 1, 2, 3, 4 must be done simultaneously the day you're carrying the taxes. That's how we do it. That's democracy, in my view.
I agree. So will the Prime Minister move toward looking at a referendum? I mean, only time will tell, but that's clearly a decision that probably can be made. The question I would ask is, what if the referendum comes back as a no?
And people say they don't want to pay. So then they accept.
That they get screwed.
The people then accept that they're willing to
battle this.
They're willing to take whatever. Just you can't get your money then. You know, some people say, yeah, I got $100 for you. You can't get your $100 then. Okay. You do your next best. Yeah. If the people have that position of saying, well, guess what? We not got no hospital. We believe that the CCJ them drunk when they give that ruling there. Yeah. And guess what happened? You have your ruling in your hand, but come and get your 90.
Yeah.
We pay you and get your 90 from.
That's
if that is that's the will of the people.
That's the will of the people. It opens up.
No, we would hope that the people, and this is what I encourage people, and as I've been doing, I think it's a moment to really listen. Yeah. And listen to people's view on it. And listen to people that you say, okay, you don't make sense. I hear your point. You listen to the Prime Minister. Yeah. You listen to the opposition. I listen to Chamber. I listen to you. I listen to if a lawyer is talking about the issue, I will listen to them. Because I'm trying to make sure that my position is an informed position. Yeah. You see? Yeah. But I don't want to just be emotional. As I said to people Monday last, I said, listen, I have to, as a talk show host, say, when this issue come up, my view of it was motivated a lot from just my emotions. Yeah. And that tends to be a flaw of mine. Yeah. My emotions, I'm not somebody who, at least at the spur of the moment, can just, make a wait and, I am prone to that, to just hear what happened. Yeah. I feel like you don't want jerk, and I feel like you are being unfair, and I don't believe that we owe you any money. Yeah. Middle finger to you. Yeah. That was my position. And now I can reflect and I say to myself, listen, as a talk show host, more is expected of me than just my emotional feeling of the time. Yeah. Somebody who has some people's ears and eyes, the bar is higher for me. Yeah. Just as the bar is higher for the people we choose to be our caretakers, to be above that emotional reaction. But we are human beings. And we looked at that situation and it offended us deeply. Like I said to people, without apology, I protested for the return of the Venezuelan money from the bank to the people of Belize because it was never given to pay the bills of the rich political elite. It was given in the name of poor people's housing. How can you convert that into paying a debt for rich connected elites? I couldn't accept that then, and I can't accept that now. We'll never accept that. That money didn't belong in that situation any at all. But now where we are, having hopefully learned that there is a higher bar for someone who the people I am here, this is a product of the people. This whole compound and this platform is a product of the people. I have a responsibility to make sure that I'm not, by whatever capacity I have, that my opinion is as informed as possible. Yeah. Not just my gut feeling or my gut, man, watch out. We don't even pay. Yeah. Obviously, that is a word I say something which I figure would have appeal. Yeah. Because there's a lot of anger about this. Just we don't pay, so we don't. Yeah. Make them come and do what they want to do. Yeah. But then I also know that
our track record has been bad.
10 years from now, or I have to factor in the fact that the person who is coming after us is heavily connected in London, heavily connected in Washington, we're not talking here about this is a investor
player.
this is an investor where they from a global level, and there are ways and means they could come after you.
Yep, absolutely.
And so, in as much as my bravado would have want me say, boy, well, yeah, what, bring where you to bring come who to come and try you 90, but we're not gonna dime for you, we're not gonna copper for you. That's the way I really want to say.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I understand, as much as that would have been, I feel like I would have been just to have that position. I don't believe right now that it would be a sensible position to take, because 17% compound interest is murder.
Yeah. And so, you know, Mose, I think you're right here. As a country, we have to take a sober approach. I would hope. My advice is to take a sober approach and to say, you know, let's look at our history in terms of litigation against this individual. Loan bukut. So if you look historically, you're not winning. You know,
Loan L.
And you also notice you have to know your enemy, and your enemy is relentless. So he's not going to stop. So you hate losing, but better I lose 90 million now than I lose probably $1 billion going forward, right? At 17%, that's ridiculous. We need to finish this story. We need to find a way of exiting this individual out of your economy, and we need to move on. I mean, that's how you have to look at it. Cut your losses, call it a loss right now, and move on.
We'll take a break, ErvIn, and then come back, shift a little bit past some of the regular advice in the middle of spending season. It is spending season.
Yep.
So we try to hammer home some of these
values.
You know, right now people are.
I don't want to hear.
I don't want to hear nothing right now.
I
don't
need
want
my
to
black cake and
I don't want to hear about save right now. No save. No save. Need new Mali. No save.
No, yeah.
I don't want no small ham. Big ham.
And from a business perspective, the businessman said they need to spend so the economy could go forward.
And then my neighbor over there, and then they get a new coat set.
Yeah.
I want one too. So I might go to my savings.
Yep.
So we know. We try hammer home these points. When we come back with more with ErvIn Perez inside the WUB. 9 minutes away from 9, and with the time remaining, we're going to get some good old-fashioned finance, personal finance fundamentals, so that you are armed with information as you go about making your Christmas season choices.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that means that you won't make yourself too popular, but they will like you in January.
Yeah.
They say, yeah, man, we never like you, and they tell you.
Well, what normally happens, Moses, is at this time, you know, we're like a voice crying in the wilderness, right? But after January, then you'll have a lot more people saying, boy, you know what, I need to revisit how I'm doing. But just remember we were going
Are you not trying to kill commerce?
No. I mean, you have to, there is some benefits from us spending.
Like, I think home improvements,
Good investment.
You can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, good investment.
So kind of make we rate it. Home improvement, good enough here.
Yeah.
It has to be done.
Increase some value of your home.
Increase the value of your house. It's not, that's
yeah.
solid.
But some people will argue more, and so we'll take a devil's advocate. Some people will argue that after a tough year, investing in some kind of self-relief.
Investing in someone?
Some self-relief.
Oh, you mean
detoxing?
Oh, you mean whiskey
some
and
festivity?
All right.
Will be
We're going to call, though. Good morning.
Yeah, morning, gentlemen.
Yeah, good morning, sir.
Good morning. But I suppose we, you really burned me, but suppose I don't really want to pay neither as a citizen, no? That's my opinion. But let's say that we pay. What I'd want to see is we declare him a persona non grata and get him out of this country. That's my take on it. And I believe he has been and everybody who conspired with him has been a thorn or a sucker to the people of Belize, and that's my take. Thank you.
All right, boss.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's kind of the general sentiment, you know, you don't want to pay, but some things you have to do when you're in the big boy world, no? In the real world, and we call it painful lessons, but sometimes the best lessons are the most painful ones because that really clarify your thinking. We call it creating a very crystal understanding what has to be done. Now let's hope. So the hope is, Moses, and I know we switch back from the personal financial planning.
We have our next call. Krem, good morning.
Morning again, Moses.
Yes, sir.
I guess you know who this is. I'm trying to remove emotions out of the conversation. Again, just like you suggested a bit earlier, I'm listening to you and ErvIn, and as brilliant as your points are, I must make some interjections here. First of all, we need to address the root of the problem that even caused this issue. Now, Ashcroft is any businessman who gets an opportunity to make more money out of suckers like us. Yes, I mean, I have absolutely no issue with Michael Ashcroft. He's a businessman. Okay? My issue is the people who are the brilliant minds who we put there to succor us while they make their profits off of the suckering. So you have this system that we have in our constitution which allows this problem to continue. So we take 90 million right now. It could be 100 million. It could be $1 billion, just like Barrow suggested. And all we do is pay while we don't even address the real problem. What we should be doing, even if we consider paying this 90 million, is first of all, immediately seize all the assets from UHS or Universal, whatever. Seize that immediately. Then we, of course, need to address this issue of our constitution, which should prevent something like this from ever happening again. All we do is play around the problem mode. We just, let's say, change monkey for black dog or whatever.
What do you think of our suggestion that if the people agree that we pay, that simultaneously we pay on the condition that we get certain reforms, that we get certain things that are signed into law right then and there, the very day that the very.
Well, that is of course that comes without question.
That's the power that I believe that's what the NTUCB and the chamber and everybody should be saying. Yeah, we will pay, but we need these things to be done.
Not only that, I'm listening to the conversation suggesting that we make decisions based on fear of Ashcroft. We shouldn't be the ones worrying about fear about Ashcroft. It's the people who have garnished all the wealth from this ridiculous deal and from all the deals that have gone bad. These are the people who should be in fear, because we as a people should ensure that we try to garnish as much as possible from these people. You know what I mean? To ensure that not only to prevent a situation like this from happening, but also to set a precedent that something like this will never go unpunished. You will pay back. All those involved in this skullduggery of this country will pay back. They will seize all the assets, whatever it takes, to recover some of our losses. You know what I mean? In the meantime, an immediate change to our constitution or whatever we need to make to ensure that something like this doesn't happen again. Most, we are playing. You know what I mean? We are playing. That's all we do is talk. We only talk. You know what I mean? People like yourself, you're in a position to assist in the effect of change. You know what I mean? All we do is politicians, every single election time, we change hands to do the same thing because we don't fix the problem. The problem will continue. The problem will continue. It's simple. You know what I mean? We don't fix the problem. These politicians will go in because it's all liars sitting down and playing on a table full with all the food, and they decide what they'll take from the table. Well, it's not even scraps we get on the ground.
Because, respect, because the time I have for coach a little bit short this morning, but I give thanks for your input. ErvIn, we're out of time. You have to bring back the Christmas special fundamentals next week.
One quick thing though, I want to say, Mose.
Make it quick though, because you know how we run the time right now.
I think this really puts the ICJ issue
to rest.
I think to rest. I mean, I cannot see, what. We'll be quick. Belizeans will look at this and say, well, something has to be in it for Guatemala to be willing to go along this way. And so, I mean, they're not going to go down this step just for fun. And so, it's showing that something that we might think is just and right in the big world, sometimes very learned men see things differently.
ErvIn, thanks for coming by. We take our last break, come back and wrap up. Tuesday morning done, just like that. Guess what? We want to thank Le Petit for breakfast. I could get used to that, Le Petit.
This is going to be all week.
Huh?
This breakfast going to be all week and next week.
I could get used to it, JC. I don't know about you.
Me too, but I don't get any.
We didn't
You
get
don't,
any.
you don't get any?
No.
At least I need that.
Listen.
We didn't get any.
Listen.
Yes.
Anything left in the box? Listen to me. You have to either send one envoy or personally come. I mean, I don't know where you want. We do it. Bring the box up here. You know. GSC, I think you, especially you, to get the unpleasant end. You to get a $90 million end. Because when Lisa didn't get anything during the morning stew, they don't holler at nobody.
Yeah, she find it funny.
So I don't really.
Let it trickle down, Mo.
It's trickle down.
Yes.
Trickle down.
Yes.
Listen, when you don't get to have, when you don't get to have the niceties and thing, Lisa not play wrong, you know. JC, I want to look out for you. I forgot your back.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, man. The 6:30 team. We don't worry about no 9 o'clock team. I look out for the 6:30 team. Yeah. So make sure JC get. Yeah, make sure JC get Le Petit. You see what they call Le Petit? Big quarrel. Listen, I will get used to it. Thank the crew JC as you downstairs, upstairs Mr. Cliff Lewis, along with Alexei Belial and Amari Montalvo, our director this morning. Belizeans, have a great Tuesday with Elton Trent. I'll be back tomorrow morning for the Wednesday morning edition of the WB Wake Up Belize Morning Vibes. As always, stand strong, stand firm. For now, we're good!
Wake up, Belize. Another morning sun is shining. Wake up, Belize. Another morning sun is shining.